Hello everyone, I am Prajan Shrestha and I'm a student at Concordia University, Chicago. And this is the third part of my Linux tutorial series. So in the first part, I talked about what Linux is, its different distributions, and how can you use Linux into your machine. And in the second part, I talked about some basic Linux commands. So if you haven't watched those tutorials, I highly recommend you to watch those. And in this part, I'm going to talk about some advanced commands and how to deal with security. So Linux is a multi-user operating system, which means if I'm not using Linux, then anyone anyone else can use those. So it is our duty to make our files and folders secure. So one way to do that is restricting permissions for other users, so that they cannot view or override our files and folders. So let's get started. So the first command I want to talk about is ls-l. So -l is an option which stands for long listing. So if I hit enter, you can see that it lists the files, for instance file1.txt, and folders, for example sample directory, and also shows these. So let's talk about these now. So it starts with dash or d. So for files, for instance file1.txt, it starts with dash, and for folders or directories it starts with d. So as you can see, there are a sequence of 9 characters. So these they represent for the users. So R stands for read, W stands for write, and X stands for execute. So these are mostly for executable files, and these ones are for groups. So for this one, the user is the group here, and this one is for the world. So world is something other than users and groups, so they can be anyone. Okay. So these, as I told you already, these are the this is the user, and this is the group, and this is the last modified date and time, and this is the name of file and folder. Okay. So how to change permissions for files and folders. So we have this command chmod. So it stands for change mode. So let's say I want to give say read, write, and execute permissions for users and groups as well. For instance, let's say read and write permissions for groups and others. So for that, we have to type G for groups and O for others. And if you want to give permissions for user, you can type U. So you can give permission one by one, or you can give it at once too. So let's keep permissions for group and others. And to add permissions, you have to type plus, and to remove permissions, you have to type minus. So as I am giving permissions, so I will type R plus, and we want to give read and write permissions for groups and others. So R for read and W for write. So, and after that we have to type the file name. So in this case, let's say file1.txt. So now if I hit ls-l, then as you can see that for file1.txt, there is read and write permission for groups and for others. So this is how you can change permissions for users, groups, and others. So let's take another example. So let's say if I want to not give execute permissions for others and then for groups, then what I have to do is I have to type chmod which is change mode, and I want to not give say, let's say, execute permission for groups and others. So that will be groups, G for groups, and O for others, and I have to type minus, and then for execute it's X. So and the file of name or directory, so in this case sample directory, ry. So if I type ls-l, then as you can see, for sample directory the execute permission has been revoked for groups and others. So in this way you can change permissions, and you can make your files and folders secure. And so talking about advanced commands, I want to talk about wildcards. So in Linux, for example, if you want to you know if you want to execute certain commands for more than one file at once, then you can use star, which stands for all in Linux. So let's say if I want to view the files of file 1, file 2 and file 3 at once, then what I can do is, so in the last tutorial I talked about more, which helps to view the contents of the file. So if I type star, which stands for all.txt, then if I hit enter, then as you can see, I can view the file, I can view the content of file 1, and it's saying to view the file of, to view the content of file 2. So if I hit space bar, then I can see the content of file 2, and if I hit space bar, I can see the content of file 3 as well. So in this case, file 1, I have this content, this is file 1, and file 2, I have this content, this is file 2, and so on. Okay, and the next wildcard is question mark. So for instance, I have if I do ls, then as you can see, I have these files, file 1, file 2, file 3, myprogram.cpp and myprogram.exe. So if I want to move my files from Linux tutorial to sample directory, so what I can do is I can type move and star for all dot question mark question mark question mark. Then what will it do is it will take all the files after, it will take the txt file, cpp file, exe file, everything. So it stands for all and whatever, and after dot 3 extensions. So sample directory, then if I do ls, then as you can see, there are no files in Linux tutorial. So if I change directory and go to sample directory, and if I type ls, then I can see all the files. So due to the, with the help of this, I don't need to, for example, move one file at a time. I can do it, I can move all the files at once. So these wildcards are really useful. So so another command I want to talk about is groups. So only the administrator can add or remove groups, so you cannot do that, and there are a lot of commands which will be beyond the scope of this tutorial. However, you can view the groups which you are in, and to view that you can simply type groups, and after that you can see which group you are in. For example, Project admin, cd-rom, sudo, etc. Okay, so and another command I want to talk about is cat. So cat also helps to view the contents of the file. For example, if I type ls, then there is one file, myprogram.cpp. so if I want to view the content, then I can just type cat and then the file name. So here I have myprogram.cpp. So this is a simple program which outputs hello world. So with the help of cat I can just view the contents of the file. And another command I want to talk about is history. So what it does is it shows the history of the commands that you have typed. So if I hit enter, as you can see I have typed a lot of commands. So yeah, so the history helps to see the commands that you have typed previously. Okay, so in the same way, if you want to know the username, then you can do that by typing who am I. So this command helps to view the name of the user. So if I hit enter, I can see that the username is Prajan Shrestha. So this is the name of the user. And in the same way I have let's talk about another command. Let's type ls and see the files and folders which we have. So another command which is head. So head, with the help of head I can see the first 10 lines of the file. For example, let's see the contents of let's see the first 10 lines of, if you want to see the first 10 lines of file 3, then head and then the name of the file, for instance file3.txt. so it helps to see the first 10 lines. Okay, so in the same way we have another command which is tail. So I think you guessed it right. So tail helps to see the last 10 lines of the file. So if I type tail and then file3.txt, then it helps to view the last 10 lines of the file. Okay, so another command that I want to talk about is grep. So grep helps to sort the specific word and help to see the line. And for example, if I type grep and then in quotation, if I type error and then the name of the file, and then the name of the file, which let's say file3.txt. So, and if I hit enter, then I can see that and then it helps to search error. So you can type anything in this double quotation, in between the double quotation, and so what you type, that it gives the output. So for example, if you want to, if there if there is a lot of content in one file, then if you want to search for that specific word, then this program and this command is going to be really helpful. For example, let's take another example. So grep and then for example 11 file3.txt, then it shows, it gives the line, it gives the specific word and the lines and the contents in that line, and that is really helpful. So and one command that I didn't talk about in my last tutorial, that is cp. So if you want to copy the file, then you can use cp. For example, let's take ls. So we have these files. So I want to copy, let's say file3.txt and put it into another file, then I can use cp. So let's say cp and then file3.txt and the name of the file which you want to copy. So let's say file4.txt. so what it does is it copies the content of file 3 and to file4.txt, and if the file4.txt is not available here, so in this case it's not available, it will make another file. So if I hit enter and if I do ls, then as you can see there is another file which is file4.txt. And so if I want to view the content of file4.txt, then there is a command called cat, which I explained earlier. So file4.txt, and I can see the content. So okay, so I want to end this tutorial here. So these are the some of the commands, some advanced commands of Linux. So I talked about chmod, grep, head, tail, who am I, history. So these are the advanced commands and some security options. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you found this tutorial helpful. So if you found this, please uh, drop me a like, and then if you have any questions, you can ask me, and I will try my best to reply as soon as possible. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you.